As we enter this Advent season, we begin this season with thankfulness, with gratitude. And Paul's words in Philippians remind us to be thankful and how to practice gratitude. As I've been thinking about gratitude this last few weeks, I've been thinking about a member of ours from Good Shepherd who passed away in October. Her name was Vicki Westra, and she was 51 years old. She was a wife and a hockey mom and a golf mom and a gifted writer and blogger, and she had cancer for the last 7+ years of her life. I followed her blog, and I know a lot of people around the community and country followed her blog as well. One thing that struck me so much in each of her blog posts was the gratitude. No matter if things were going well or things were hard, she would find a way to show gratitude to God, to the people around her, for the everyday things in her life. And I wanted to share just a few examples of her posts that made this come through. So she had this one paragraph that just talks about what she was doing in 2014. Infusion lasts 3 hours for the loading dose. I use my time to journal my gratitude, which fills page after page in my book. I'm done in time to meet with my Stage 4 forward support group. It's very humbling to be surrounded by women who are so likely going to say me too whenever we share about our latest news. I'm humbled and honored all at once to call them friends. This paragraph is just a description of what's going on in her cancer treatment. And yet she shares how she intentionally takes time to find things to be thankful for. And then she carries that gratitude with her to her Stage 4 support group, where everyone in the group has various kinds of Stage 4 cancer. And they're all in hard situations, and yet they're thankful for each other. Then there was another post from 2015, and this is a rare selfie. I don't remember seeing many selfies on her blog posts, because usually she had photos of family and of friends and of events that they were participating in, and she would take beautiful pictures of things she saw in nature that she found so beautiful, or she'd take pictures of everyday objects that brought a smile to her face. But this is a picture that just speaks volumes about the heaviness of her spirit in that moment. A week before this picture, her mom died, and she also then had received some hard news about her cancer progress. And you can just see the weight in this picture, and yet the caption underneath says, "Today I'm going to have my brain MRI with sedation. I am bringing you all with to pray over." So even in this time where she is in a fog of grief and feeling the weight of that, she still is thankful for all of the people she's connected to, and she's still reaching out and praying for other people. As I read her blog throughout the years, I felt so connected with her, but I also just felt a profound gratitude for life in general, for my life, for all the blessings that I could see in her life and stories that she would share. The gratitude was contagious, and it just seemed to spill through the screen. There's another writer from a different time before there were blogs who also had that gift of sharing gratitude, and that was Paul. He was a man who wrote letters to young churches, young gatherings of people that he had gathered together to help follow Christ. And then he would start these churches, and then he'd write letters to them to encourage them. And he was someone who was persecuted for sharing his faith. He was beaten, he was imprisoned many times. He went through times of starvation and homelessness. He went through all sorts of trials. And yet he still wrote letters to encourage all these young churches that he had helped start. And I shared with you his words from the beginning of a letter he wrote to people who lived in a city called Philippi. So he starts to write this letter, and we think this letter was written later in his life, and he found himself in prison once more. And he could have talked about his hard situation at the beginning of this letter. But what are the first words he uses to open up this letter to these people in Philippi? He says, "I thank my God Every time I remember you, constantly praying with joy in every one of my prayers for all of you. He's opening his letter with joy, with thankfulness. He can't physically be with these people. He is in prison. And yet, the one gift he can give is the gift of that encouragement that his gratitude can offer them. He can be contagious in spreading gratitude to this community of people, and it strengthens their bond with one another. What Paul knew, and what Vicky Westra also knew, was something that scientists have finally been able to prove, that practicing a life of gratitude can change the way you look at your life and change the way you live your life. It can change the way you can see the situations of your life. I was reading a study in the Harvard Medical Review that said some of the benefits of gratitude that science has proven. It makes you more alert, enthusiastic, optimistic, attentive, motivated, other-oriented, likable, generous, forgiving, and makes you want to volunteer more, strengthens your relationships, makes you more successful, makes you 25% happier, and helps you sleep better. Now, who wouldn't want a prescription for this? This is incredible. And I didn't even have space on the slide to share more of how it helps your autoimmune system and all these other things, and I don't know how they measure the 25% happier. But in this study, they measured that when people wrote down 3 things every day that they are thankful for, these were the long-term benefits, immediate and long-term benefits. And it also helps people feel less anxious, less depressed, less apathetic about life, less selfish, and it decreased suicidal thoughts. That's an amazing thing. That's what science has proven about practicing gratitude. I think this is a helpful thing to be reminded of in this season. We are entering a season called Advent, and you're not going to hear about Advent outside of church. You're only going to hear about the frantic preparations for Christmas. But Advent is a special season here at church where we take these 4 weeks that lead up to Christmas and we center ourselves. We look back to when Jesus first was born as a baby in Bethlehem, and we also look forward to when Jesus will come again and when Jesus will make all things new. So we plant ourselves in this in-between season between Jesus' first and second coming. And it also always happens to be, at least for us who live on this part of the planet, the darkest time of the year. The nights are the longest, the days are the shortest, and it can be a struggle for people. I think we fight with a lot of darkness in our lives, not just the lack of sunlight. And outside, the world around us is bustling and preparing for the hashtag best Christmas ever, and yet it can be hard for a lot of people. Because maybe you are someone who has cancer, or a loved one you know has cancer, or a difficult diagnosis. Maybe you are just frazzled and frantic and overwhelmed at this time of the year. Maybe you are struggling to deal with difficult people in your life. Maybe those difficult people are even in your family and you've got to figure out how to have Christmas with them, or you're maybe not even able to have Christmas with them because there is such a difficult situation between you. Maybe you're someone who has longed for a family and you haven't been able to have one. Maybe you're someone who does have kids and yet you don't know how to parent them. Maybe this is the first Christmas that you are facing without a loved one who has died, and your heart is breaking as you face Christmas. Or maybe your life is just such a mess that you can't even take an Instagram photo that is this cool, like Pastor Taylor and Deacon Julie did. Maybe your life is such a mess that you couldn't even crop out all of the mess from the picture, because if you cropped out all the mess in your life, there'd be nothing there. Maybe that is the situation that you are in this year. And there's also some funny hashtags underneath, like live authentic, when they've cut out all the messy stuff out of their picture. But no matter what your situation, no matter what your circumstance, there is something important for you to know about gratitude this Advent season. I think it's easy for us to think, oh, well, when things are going well in my life, of course I'll be grateful, of course I'll be thankful. But what science has actually proven, I think we can actually find this in the Bible too, that when you first choose to be grateful, no matter what your circumstances are, you will be able to see the good and the beautiful in the midst of any situation. And gratitude isn't just a lifestyle choice. Gratitude is a way for us to be connected to our Creator. That's what gratitude helps us do. It's not just a nice, happy feeling. When we practice gratitude, we're actually able to look up and say thank you to the one who made us. We're able to see Jesus right there in the midst of no matter what our circumstances are. Practicing gratitude isn't a way to escape the circumstances of our lives. It's a way to fully look at our circumstances, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and see Jesus right there in the middle with us, showing us that we are not alone. That is a powerful thing. And when we're aware of the presence of Jesus, we're also then able to see the people that Jesus brings into our lives, who can help encourage us, who can help bring us along. When we practice gratitude, we're able to do what Paul was able to do when he was writing to the Philippian people, and he said, "I am confident that the one who began a good work among you will bring it to completion by the day of Jesus Christ." He knew that Jesus wasn't done working on that community of people. And Jesus isn't done working in our community either. Jesus is still working on us and still present with us. Gratitude is also the most powerful tool that we have to fight against any darkness that we are facing. And Jesus knew this. Jesus knew the power of gratitude. We can look to Jesus to see how to do this when we look at the hard circumstances that he went through in his life. Even when we look at the day before he died on the cross, he knew that his death was coming. He knew that people had turned against him. He knew that his death would be painful. And he sat down and had dinner with 12 of his closest friends, his disciples, and he knew that all of these people would even abandon him and betray him by the end of the next day. And it tells us in the Bible what he chose to do. It says right here, it says, in the night in which he was, can you help me? Betrayed. We just heard about it in communion. Jesus took bread and gave thanks. On the night in which he was betrayed, Jesus took bread, shared a meal with his friends, and gave thanks. That's amazing, because out of all of the supernatural tools that he had in the whole universe that he had access to, the one tool that he chose to use is a tool that each of us can use as well. He chose to practice gratitude. In the midst of everything being so hard, he looked to God and said, "Thank you." Now, gratitude is not just a luxury for people who have it good, who have everything coming to them easily. Gratitude isn't just something that we encourage our kids to express because it's nice and polite. Gratitude is the most powerful tool that we have against the darkness. It is the most powerful tool. That is amazing. We learn that from Jesus. And maybe you are having a hard time this Advent season, even trying to muster the words. Maybe you're too overwhelmed to find things to be thankful for. In that case, you can borrow Paul's words. You can borrow Vicky's words or other people's words who have been able to express gratitude. And even if you can't even borrow someone else's words, you can just come and share in communion, where you hear how Jesus says thanks on your behalf and promises to be with you one more time again in this Holy Supper. That's a powerful thing. This Advent, I want all of us to let that light of Christ into our lives by practicing gratitude. And don't just then keep that light that comes into your life. I want you to share that with others. Let the gratitude that you have and the light that's coming into your life spill out into other people. Find ways to be thankful for even the most difficult people and situations in your life, and see how Jesus' light spreads. That's powerful. I want to end by just sharing a short video of what one church did. They put together a video to help people be thankful for the things of every day, and we can borrow their suggestions as well.
I'm alive! I'm alive!
Yeah?
Yeah! Oh, yeah! Hey, Christine! You're here too! I love you!
I know.
Dad, what's happening?
Honey, the power works! It's coming, it goes on and off whenever we want! We've got clean water! Oh, that's great, look at that! Ooh, I bet I know what this does! Rain down the glorious water! Ah, shoes. Oh, what do we got here, guys? Food. I love food. What? A beef steak? You gonna have work? This is awesome. Look, listen here. Feed the what?
Jack, be careful.
Oh, I have a car. This is great. Did you guys see this?
Yeah, you have a car.
A car!
And don't forget your coffee.
You're the best.
Amen.